These are clematis hybrids. The one you're looking at is blooming at the end of May 2015, and all of the ones you're going to see here are spring blooming clematis. They're a deciduous vine and are noted for their very extremely showy display of blooms, as you can see here. This is a very mature planting. These, as you can see down at the bottom there, the vines are about an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch in diameter. But look how rich these colors are, and also just profusion of blooms. These were all over a place. There's a place in Sonoma, California called Cornerstone, and these were there. This is in my backyard. This is a variety of Clematis montana, I believe. And so here's what I want you to know about them. As a design element, great variety of colors. Almost any color. I guess yellows and oranges aren't really something you would see, but purples, blues, lavenders, pinks, and whites. And then as you get into some of the really spectacular hybrids, some of the flowers are 4 to 6 inches across and have multiple layers and lots of petals and different configurations and shapes of the petals. So there are clematis clubs and societies, so this is similar in ways to daylilies or roses in that it's a very highly hybridized plant group. So in design, I like to use them as a show on a wall, but being in California where these are deciduous, these aren't something I use as much as maybe an evergreen vine. That said, this has more of a show in many cases than any evergreen vine I can really offer up. So these certainly have a great place in the garden. And then it comes down to availability. If you're a landscape designer like I am, where you go to the nursery and you want your landscape contractor to be able to pick up something like this, now you have to really look at what varieties are available in your area. And it's much more limited than if you go on to catalogs, where one catalog might have 20 to 50 varieties of clematis in there. So keep that in mind when you're designing with these. If it's going to be a very special plant in the garden, you might want to mail order that so that you can get a really special hybrid for the garden. Otherwise, check with local nurseries and see who's locally growing what in your area. So in terms of what to give them, you want to give them something to support them to grow on. These are beautiful on a trellis. I've seen these growing up inside of evergreen trees, and they work their way to the outer edge. They bloom they want full sun for blooms, 4 to 6 hours a day of direct sun to produce the best blossom. But then the other thing that's important is their roots like to stay cool. So you want to mulch that or have them under the understory or in the shade of their own plant or another. They don't like competition, I've read, so you also want to be aware of that. Depending on the variety, the hardiness varies, but most of these deciduous clematis, by the way, I need to mention that I am talking about deciduous varieties of clematis, are hardy down to -10, 20 degrees or less, so know that about them. They're very hardy. They're also summer blooming, spring blooming, which is most of the ones I've just shown you. These were all blooming in late May in California. And there's also summer, fall, and some rebloom, and you get a second blossom out of. So depending on what it is you're trying to achieve with your design, look into that as well. That's what I can tell you about clematis hybrids, the deciduous ones. Amazing array of colors and very showy flowers. Enjoy.